Let me present Isabel. Isabel Tabet is from Sam Werth Architects. Again, the winners of the New York SARA Award. And Isabel is a project designer, but she is or was also a professor. And Sam Werth also one of the top firms for multifamily, again ranked 11, I think, by the Real Deal ranking. And Isabel will share how to create actually a complex building of a complex project consisted of two buildings. So thank you, Isabel, so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge. And we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Diti, and thank you to Shinyao and Fariba for the amazing presentation so far. So I'm just going to basically be building upon what they've already gracefully showed us to create a slightly more complex project. So I'm going to go a little bit faster than we went previously. So I'm going to do semi-detached towers. I named it this, so something interesting. It's basically a project with two towers on one zoning lot. So as was mentioned previously, you input all of your analysis, your previous analysis, on if we're in New York, you go on Zola, you analyze your site, get all of the dimensions on the zoning resolution for max building height and so on and so forth. So let me just plug those numbers in. And I hope everybody's been aware and has been taking advantage of the updated zoning resolution with new FARs. So I'm just going to go through and pick what lot best represents the lot that I'm going for or that my site is. Here you can also change, if it doesn't match what your lot looks like, you can change this from street to this is my side and this is actually where my street is. So I'm going to change that both to wide, both of these. I'm going to change that to wide as well and plug in my lot number and go to generate that. So I want my street walls to have most of the windows as well as the rear. So this best represents what I need. I'm going to keep going through. And let me know if I'm a little bit too fast. I can also slow down if needed. Okay, so I prefer to actually generate my own cores as, again, we've done like previous analysis for the site itself, and I'm trying to split this into two buildings on the same zoning lot. So I'm going to go. And one thing that I do want to point out is that it's great that the program actually starts with a typical floor because this allows you to set where your cores are going to be for all of the other floors that you end up creating. And I'll get into that a little bit later. Let me just adjust my building outlines. So as Fariba had showed previously, you'll show where your buildings are abutting other lots, so this needs to be a solid wall, no windows, at least at the lower levels. Again, I'm producing two towers, so at the higher levels, we may be able to put lot line windows along these, and we can change them back to glass. In order to split walls, you can just double click on the wall, and you can get that to split the building entirely. Pull it all the way down. And then I'm going to just put in my outline, the dimensions that I need. My apologies, it's in the office if you're hearing any background noise. Sorry about that. So again, setting my solid walls, splitting where I need to split, and adjusting outlines to the numbers that I need. And then solid wall. Now, the concept of semi-detached is that you technically have like one demising wall. In New York, we are required to have seismic gaps between them. So you can, drag the wall as close as you can possibly get it or put the 6 inches in between, depending on the height of your building, and drag walls as needed. So I'm going to now place in my staircases. And that allows me to, again, generate my core. Then this will be applied to all of the other floors that I end up generating. Again, I'm going to go a little bit fast because it's two buildings. Okay, and then my refuse room as well. Same thing, back to back. Yep, sorry, pulled that a little bit too far. In this also, I wanted to show you can click on the doors and like relocate them to where you need them to be if it's not if the location isn't working for your layout, you can do it that way. And place in my corridors, standard 5 feet. Well, it shows 6, but I'm gonna go 5. Um, Again, this is New York, so we're taking advantage of all the deductions we can possibly get by leaving this glass wall as so we can get full corridor deductions. And make that 5 as well. And pull that out a bit and place in my standard elevators. Also apply to both floors. Apply this to all floors. Let's place the first one along here. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out a little bit more just so I have some room for the next one. And let's see if I can place that in. Okay, this works relatively. And my other corridor. Let's pull that down. Oops. Make that 5. I'm just gonna click on that. There we go. And pull that out. Out a little bit. Okay. Let's make that way. Oop. Okay. And we're almost there. Okay, this looks about right what I want my cores to look like. Let's see if I can adjust this. There we go. And then I can pull my walls back to match and turn this into a solid wall because I do not need glass on my elevators. All right, now I can get full corridor deductions for both buildings. Real quick, I want to show you how to actually add the deductions as we had discussed before. So deduction properties on the settings, you can go to the typical floor. And as you add in elements with the layouts and the corridors, there'll be more percentages to put in here. So and I'll show you that a little bit later. I'm going to leave that as is for right now and get into actually generating my layouts. So as was shown previously, you can either go with percentages or numeric values. It gives you the amount of rooms that you can feasibly create. Just going to go with some numbers currently. I don't have anything specific that I would like. But again, with your analysis and what your client has discussed with you, you generate those as is required and as is needed. And we just give that a few minutes. And actually, we have two options. So I'm going to pick this one. I think it's a little bit better. This looks like a pretty big unit. and apply selected. Again, not going to get too detailed into these units. Um, and just do the same for this building. Let's go to, I think I have a little bit more square footage. Let's see if I can get another studio in there. Give it a couple minutes. Okay, and now we have some good options. I think I'm going to go with the first one again and apply selected. And now we have our typical floor layout. So if we go back to section, you can actually create your ground floor as was shown previously. And this gives you, let's just go into it so you could show all the layouts were copied down. I typically like to do it this way because I like to keep my rear layouts the same for almost every single floor because the dormers happen in the front, and wherever you have the street. And then we can go in and actually start to delete things that we don't need. So I'm not going to put that many units on the first floor. Maybe I'm going to turn this into commercial space. This can be, let's say, my residential amenity space or one of these. I can do also a residential amenity space. Let's say this would end up being my bicycle parking, which is another set of deductions which you could probably get and use. And I'm going to turn this into my residential lobby. Oop. And just do something similar for the second building, my second tower. Just delete all front units. And you can adjust the spaces as needed. Let's say my lobby didn't need to be this big. I can pull that out and, have a nice size amenity space, nice size retail space. This can be further discussed with the client and adjusted as needed. And I'm going to just start cleaning these up a little. Let's say this now becomes a community facility space, depending on the zoning of the area. And when you have in like special districts, you might be required to produce specific forms of amenity or retail, such as like gallery spaces or performance spaces and arts requirements. Again, I'm talking about New York specifically, but based off of the zoning resolutions and analysis is needed in whatever city or state or even country that you're in. This is pretty efficient to get some preliminary analysis. I'm just going to change that to a nice big lobby as well. I'll put maybe my bicycle parking here. A cute little amenity space here, or vice versa. So storage as needed. You can continue to do that. As well, I want this space to be a nice like double height or let's taller than most of the other floors. So let's make it like 12 feet instead. So 144 should be good. And now I'm gonna do my dormer floors as we've reached max base height. I'm gonna add that. So with the new zoning resolution, you can take advantage of the 40% dormers, which go to whatever height that you need. Go dormers. And go into my new building type. And again, all of my new units have been copied up and I can just adjust the dormers as needed and regenerate these new spaces. So I'm doing 40% of 80. It's 48. So let's go in and delete that. And this as well. I think I want my dormer to be in the corner. Just gonna pull that down. over, and I can start pulling things back. This is a wide street again, so we're gonna do a 10-foot dormer, make that 48, and clean that up, and then I can regenerate that. Let me just clean up this side as well. Let's delete that. And okay. Pull that back to 10 too, and this side was 100, so that means I need 40 feet of dormer. Let's make that 40, okay, and pull this back as well. And I don't need this much corridor space, so I'm just gonna square that out. Let's see how much we can clean this up. I'm gonna square out this unit. Make my life easier. Okay, and now I can go in and generate some new units. Again, same theory. Go in, type in your percentages as needed based off of the rooms or the numerical values. I'm gonna go 2 and 2. Okay, can't do that. We'll do 2 and 3. And 2 options. I think this is probably a better use of my space. I'm gonna go with this and generate for the second one. We'll do, okay, can't do it that way. Yeah. And not too great of a space, but this can also be adjusted and regenerated as you adjust your dormers and fix things the way you prefer it to look. Now let's go into this section and pull that all the way up. Oh, to 25 floors. There we go. Okay, and then in 3D, can see my full 2 buildings created. Now we can go back and actually look more in depth. So you can see now my deductions have increased to all of the floors that I've created, as well as all of the uses. So on my typical floor, I'm going to do, it can go with specific deduction areas. Let's say like you're doing refuse, there's 3 square feet per unit, depending on the amount of units that you have on the floor. Or you can do 50% of the corridor. Again, we have typical corridors on this. It gives you the area, so you can just calculate that, and it applies the deduction to every single floor. And we can just test that out. Let's say I have 20 square feet of refuse, or okay, let's make it 100, including mechanical. I'm gonna do 50 for the dormer floors because we have a smaller floor plate. And then for the ground floor residential, you can input the exact amount that you have for, let's say, your bicycle parking, your 50% daylight deduction for your lobby area, so on and so forth. And then it will apply. I'm just going to plug in 100 for the purpose of this and save and close. And now we can go in and see our reports, and you'll see that here in under other is where the deductions start to come in. So deductions here, and it's split up as I've shown per the typical floor, per the numbers that I've created, as well as the percentages and the zoning area and final numbers. And that's pretty much it. I know I went a bit fast, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.
Okay, let's thank you so much, Isabel.